Guys, so before the video starts, I wanted to give a quick shout out to the gaming channel that I started up for charity. It is currently up and running. There aren't any videos on it right now, but if you guys wanted to subscribe and to submit videos to it for the community aspect of it, I would really appreciate it. Every penny that is earned through this channel is going to be donated to a charity of some sort, and I would really love some support by it. So if you haven't checked it out yet, make sure you go check it out. Link will be in the description down below.
What is going on, everyone? My name is Under the Radar, and welcome to the draft analysis for the PGL. If you do not know what the PGL is, there will be a video that is uploaded like a day and a half, 2 days before this. Go check that out. That explains what the PGL is, what they allow, what they banned, who they are, why I love them all, and why they're absolutely amazing people. So go down to the description, find that video, find all of the coaches' links, subscribe to all of them on YouTube, follow them on Twitter, download their mixtape, do all that awesome stuff because they're really cool people. But I'm going to go through this assuming that you know what they allow, what they don't allow, and things of that nature. And I'm just basically going to talk about what I drafted. So, going into this draft, I wanted to stay very far away from how I drafted in the PPL last season. Which, by the way, if you don't know, I'm in a different room. That's because I have lighting, and I'm pretty in lighting, so I might as well do it while it's still nice out. Anyway, I wanted to stay far away from the way I drafted in the PPL, and the way I drafted in the PPL was specifically bulk and not a whole lot of offense. Fuck that. I ain't doing that anymore. So I wanted to make sure that I could get everything I wanted right away, and I had a system that I did not want to take my S rank until very late in the draft or the very last pick. Mainly because if everybody else focuses on getting their S rank picks, that's basically just gonna... I just totally stuttered so hard, I'm so sorry. But that's basically going to give me a free opportunity to get another round 1 or a tier 1 mon, tier A mon, whatever it is, a top tier mon that other people are looking over to get things like Kyurem White, Yveltal, Mega Metagross, Landorus I, Aegislash, all these other awesome S ranks that they would be looking at. I can just be like, hey, go distract yourself. I'm gonna go make sure that I get my mon. So with that whole thing in mind, I didn't draft around any S rank. I didn't think about it. I wanted to make sure I had all my types covered, excluding my S rank. That was just the way I wanted it to be. I'm more comfortable with things that aren't S rank because I don't play with Ubers. I do not play with things that are banned. I haven't been a big Ubers guy since early XY, so I wasn't too worried about that. But I did have some that I was keeping my eye on in case they dropped to me, like Hoopa Unbound, Mega Metagross, Darkrai, Shaman Sky, Manaphy if it somehow fell to me. Like, there was a ton of them that I was looking at, and I just wanted to kind of sort of keep an eye on it as it was coming down my way in the draft. We also had a chance to franchise a mon. Franchising, if you don't know, it's basically the exact same thing as a GBA. You get to call dibs on this mon before the draft even starts, and it takes place as your last round pick. So since I didn't want to take my S rank until very late in the game, I was guaranteed an extra round tier A mon, round 1 top tier thingamaboober, while everybody else was focusing on that, along with guaranteeing myself a tier A mon that I wanted. The only stipulation is it could not be drafted on anybody's Season 3 team. So, with all this in mind, I knew I was going to be getting a pretty stacked draft in the beginning, in my opinion, with some decent decors, some decent things that I knew I wanted to use. So, I was pretty excited for that. I started to take a look at what was drafted in the Season 3 and what were on the final teams and things of that nature. I followed the PGL last season pretty closely, so I knew what I could and couldn't take for the most part. I couldn't remember Tornadus Therian being on anybody's roster, so I looked at that and that was taken, so that's kind of depressing. Then I started to take a look around things, and I was like,
Jirachi's not taken.
What? Jirachi was not taken. So, in case you couldn't tell, from the layout, we have 12 mons, and I decided to franchise Jirachi. Holy shit on a cracker. That is powerful. That was my favorite mon in PPLD2. I think that single-handedly won me games in PPLD2. Like, holy balls. Not to mention Serene Grace. Not to mention things like its insane move pool. Like, it gets access to Fire Punch and it's a steel type. That's absolutely crazy. Iron Head, Thunder Wave, U-Turn, Stealth Rocks, Wish, Healing Wish, Ice Punch. Like, the coverage is insane. It has access to Setup and Calm Mind. It can hit on the both physical and special side with Psyshock. Like, this mon is just an amazing thing to build a team around. I love Jirachi. It is probably in my top 3 favorite things of all time in League format. So I was like, holy balls. I'm pumped. I can do this. So, since I franchised Jirachi, I franchised that about 2 weeks before the draft actually started. So I started to look around and I was like, huh, I could be that guy and I could take Togekiss and Shaman Sky. I could so do it. So I was kind of hoping for that. And I was looking around. That started to be my favorite option that came about. And then T-Train contracted Togekiss. So that sucks. That really sucks. So that whole plan just kind of... but I started to look around more at what was available, what wasn't getting contracted, and things of that nature. Zapdos wasn't getting contracted. Victini, Sylveon, there was just a shit ton of threats that weren't getting contracted. Mew wasn't contracted. There was just so much that I was looking at. So then the draft comes around. I am 15th out of 16. So I basically get 2 mons that go together no matter what. That's awesome for me, right? I'm almost guaranteed anything I want. And by anything, I mean, say I get sniped round or pick 6. Then it can come to me. I can take my time, make sure I get 2 things in a row I want, because the only person that can snipe me is Dokes. Like, and honestly, judging by the way he plays, I don't think he would be sniping me very much with the way I wanted to draft. So I was keeping that in mind. And I knew I wanted a really good fairy. Since I got Jirachi, I knew for a fact I wanted a fantastic fairy. Something that could match up very well to where I could take poison and steel type moves with Jirachi, and I think that it just works out very well together with having Jirachi and a really good fairy. So, since Togekiss got contracted, that plan got thrown out the window, and then I was like, well, you know, Clefable is still really good. I had Jirachi and Clefable on the same team. It worked out very well together. I loved that core. That got sniped, so it was coming to me, and I was looking at the fairies, and I started to get a little depressed. And then I started to look even closer, and I was like, Sylveon is still on the board. Sylveon is an amazing round 1 pick. No matter what, Sylveon is a fantastic round 1 pick, because fairy typing, in my opinion, is one of the best typings in draft format. I would kill to have an amazing fairy over any other type. That's just my personal preference. This thing has access to Wish, so it's a cleric. It has access to Baton Pass. It has access to extremely hard-hitting Hyper Voices. It has access to Heal Bell. I might have already said Baton Pass, but it has access to set up with Calm Mind. So if I wanted to set up with this and then Baton Pass it into Jirachi because I wanted to have 4 moves on Jirachi, or like Wish and 3 attacks along with setting up Calm Minds, I could do all that stuff. I can just do so much with this. I can run Choice Specs. I can run Scarf. This is just a very versatile fairy that is also extremely fat. It can still take poison hits decently well. Steel hits are a little iffy because of flinch chances and things of that nature, but they're still really good and it can still take them decently well. Not to mention, I have a Jirachi that can stop that almost immediately. So I was really happy that I have my Steel Fairy already. And dragons, there's a ton of them that I like using. Like, I'd be happy with something even as low tier as Hydreigon, because it's a really good rocker. It can deter U-turn, it can deter knockoff, it can hit very hard with a sheer force life orb. So I was okay with something low tier like that. I was also very okay with something super fast like Noivern. I was really okay with something like Haxorus, which could be another setup mon. Having 3 setup mons is always super scary because setup spam is very hard to counter in the draft format. So I was looking at that. Salamence, there was just a lot going on, but I started to look around even more, and fire types are very important in the league format. I think that fire types are almost as necessary as fairy types. A lot of people don't think so, however, I strongly disagree, especially after not having, realistically not using my fire type in PPL last season. So I started to look around at fire types. Entei was still on the board, Darmanitan was still on the board, Infernape was still on the board, because you gotta remember, this is only round 2, but I already have 2 Mons, so this will be my 3rd Mon. I'm 1 step ahead of everybody else because I contracted something that I loved using. Which, by the way, I think I snapped like 3 people with that franchise. That's awesome. But then I come to my favorite fire type in the format, and that is my boy Vmon, Victini. What? Okay. I get it. 2 psychic types. That's not the best. That's not smart. That's not usually something that you want to do. However, you have to remember, Dark Spam, okay, Pursuit's a little scary for my team right now. However, knockoff, I have a Sylveon. The knockoff users in the game that are super scary are Weavile, which if I have a Colbur Berry with Victini, it's going to die to a Brick Break or a V-Create. And then you take into account that I have a Sylveon. Okay, so I wasn't too worried. I also have a Jirachi to take ice types, so I wasn't too worried about Weavile at this point. But I still had to keep it on the, I still had to keep in my mind that I was getting a little weak to things like Sneasel and Weavile, so that's something I had to keep in mind. But Victini, is there anything Victini can't do? It's not the best at being like a wall, but it has V-Create. Why would you want something with V-Create to be a wall? Can anybody explain that to me? Because I truthfully do not know. But it has access to U-Turn, Bolt Strike, V-Create, special moves like Energy Ball, Focus Blast, Shadow Ball, Dazzling Gleam. It hits everything. Access to Thunder. Victory Star is an amazing ability because you can run Thunder instead of Thunderbolt or Focus Blast, and it'd be a little bit more accurate. So there was a lot of things going on whenever I picked Victini, and I'm loving the fact that I have 2 U-turners and a baton passer. Like, initiative isn't really a huge problem for this team right now, and that makes me very happy. So after I take Victini, it goes all the way back up to the beginning, to Gearheart, all the way back down to me. Dragon types are starting to going. They started going quick. Like, I'm pretty sure in this round 3, Salamence, Kyurem Black, Kyurem White went round 1. There was Megazard X, I believe, went. Like, a ton of dragons were going. I was a little worried. I could not wait on my dragon type. I could have waited 1 round, however, Dokes was after me. I didn't know what he was looking at for his dragon type. I had no idea in my entire brain, no matter how hard I thought, I could not figure out what he wanted for his dragon type. So I could have waited maybe until after he picked, but I didn't want to risk it. So I started looking at dragon types that were left, and then I noticed it. One of the best wall breakers, stall breakers, momentum gainers, and just one of my all-time favorite dragons, Hydreigon. Having Hydreigon on a team with Victini, Jirachi, and Sylveon, I'm struggling to think of a switch in to where if I decide to bring super offensive for every single one of them. So I now have 3 U-turners and a baton passer. I now have a very hard dark spamming Pokemon with Dark Pulse. I have access to U-turn, Flash Cannon, Earth Power, Super Power. I now have access to Head Smash. That is very important because Head Smash is the best move in the game. Not really. It's just probably one of the most memeable. And I'm really liking the fact that I have my Dragon Fairy Steel Core done. I still need my Water and my Grass type. I still need an Electric type. I have no hazard removal at all. I have one hazard setter. So I'm still lacking in a lot that is going on right now. And I need to patch that up quickly. However, I don't do that. Because while I'm almost done picking A ranks. I'm almost done because I have 3 of them. The max you can have, I think, is 5. If you budget your points correctly and take a low tier mega, the most you can have is 5. I don't plan on budgeting that perfectly, so I might be able to squeeze in 4. Maybe. So, I was looking. And since Weavile is a very big problem now, very, very big. And when I say very big, I mean so big that it makes me shiver when I think about how scary it was. So I wanted my bulky water. I wanted it right away. A lot of them were already taken. Things like Aloma Molo were going very early, which kind of surprised me. Things like Milotic, I think, were going early. Empoleon, I think, went already. Manaphy was already gone, so I couldn't get that as my S rank at this point in time. However, Vaporeon was still available, so I was like, another Wish Passer, another Baton Passer, a Phaser, another Cleric, an immunity to Scald, because I do have a Victini, so Scald might be coming at that. Also trying to burn my Jirachi might be a thing, so it fits pretty well. I like it, and it also really helps out with my Ice weakness, or my Ice Dark weakness, so that kind of sort of helps out. But I started to look even farther as to how well Vaporeon goes in, and it just helps so much. If I Baton Pass Acid Armors into, say, my Victini, into my Hydreigon, I could just constantly set up wishes. I can Toxic Stall now, which wasn't really super viable with just Sylveon. However, with Vaporeon and Sylveon being able to Wish Pass into each other, it's a little bit more viable. They don't share weaknesses, so that's very important. I'm sorry if you can hear my dogs barking. They're being a pain. But I'm now also not extremely susceptible to Calm Mind bulky water types, which we all know how good I am at facing those. So that was really important for me. I now have access to Haze, which is really cool. I had access to Taunt and Hydreigon, so that was a thing. So now setup supers aren't as scary. They're still super scary because setup supers are scary in general, but this thing just, it helps out a lot of things and ties in a lot of holes. And now I'm only missing my Grass type for my Fire Water Grass core. Mono Water bulky water types are amazing. Vaporeon is right up there with Milotic for the best bulky water type in the format, in my opinion. It's so fat. It has like base 169 HP. JK, it's like 130, but still, that's very high amounts of HP, and that's something that I had to keep in mind whenever I drafted it. Like, just being able to say I have this amazing switch into things is really cool. So after I picked Vaporeon, I was like, well, there's a lot of things going on. A lot of people had their megas already, so I knew I didn't want a high tier mega. That's one thing I knew going into the draft. I knew I did not want a high tier mega. I knew I wanted something like C or D, maybe. A lot of people did not have their S ranks, surprisingly. I think there was like 8 people that did not have their S ranks. Shaman Sky was gone, Kyurem White was gone, Kyurem Black was gone, Megazord X, Yveltal was gone, Mega Altaria was gone, but that was about it. There was still some amazing S ranks on the board. There was Landorus I, Hoopa, Mega Metagross, Aegislash, Mega Mawile, Deoxys Normal, Darkrai. There was just a ton of things that I could have picked from. However, I was looking at my team and what S rank would actually fit me the best, and I started looking at S ranks and I was like, whoo, there's not a whole lot of fast S ranks left aside from Deoxys Normal or Deoxys Speed, and I don't want a third Psychic type. That's just too weak to Dark for me. I don't like having things where you can be like, well, if I slap on Knockoff, that hits literally a quarter of his team for super effective damage. That's just not something that I want in a draft. So I was looking at the speed tiers of them. Lando is pretty fast, breaks base 100, but that means things like regular Manectric with speed tie with it, things like Tauros, things like just generally fast things would outspeed it. I didn't like that. Mega Mawile is stupid slow. Aegislash is slow, but it's fat and has access to priority and weakness policy and stance change and things of that nature. Hoopa is extremely slow. I could get Mega Metagross, but 2 steel types and a 3rd psychic type again was I didn't really want that. Lando Eye, it would add another ice weakness, a quad ice weakness on top of all that, so I was kind of sort of counting that out. And realistically, the only S rank that fit my team well was Darkrai. So I picked Darkrai. And looking back at it, I do not regret this decision whatsoever. Having 2 dark types is not bad, because Dark Spam is very good in the format. Along with the fact that this thing has insane coverage. And when I say insane coverage, I mean it has access to like Ice Beam, Sludge Bomb, Dark Pulse, Nasty Plot, Sucker Punch, Taunt. Dark Void is allowed. I'm pretty sure it gets Thunderbolt, has access to Focus Blast, has access to Psychic. This thing can hit just like every single typing on the entire spectrum, almost. Aside from hidden powers, because that doesn't really count, but it hits so much super effectively. It can stop stall, it can just knock off Chansey's Violite, it can, if things want to come in on this, like a lot of things that are going to want to come in on Darkrai are fairy types. Like that, I said that in my draft league viability video. I fully stand by that. So Sludge Bomb is going to be very good on it. I think a lot of teams are going to kind of sort of expect me to just run Dark Void, which I think is kind of sort of silly. I don't think that's very good planning to say, I want to bring Darkrai with Dark Void every single week. That's just not a good way of thinking. So I had to keep that in mind. But Taunt, Nasty Plot, just being able to taunt slow walls, and especially if they're things like Chansey, kind of just destroy stall. There aren't many walls that can actually switch into it, which is really cool. There are ways to check it offensively, and there are walls that can switch into it if I don't have a Nasty Plot up. But if I'm running Life Orb, it's still going to be hitting very hard. I'm going to be taking residual damage, so I had to think about all that. And this thing also is my first Mon that does not get access to Baton Pass or a U-turn, so that's another thing that I kind of sort of liked about it, because that means I can save this for the very end. I don't need to worry about running U-turn on it to gain me momentum in the middle of the game, because I can just save it till the very end and it can be a late game cleaner. I love that about Darkrai, but I think having 2 dark types so close together was not a poor draft decision on my part. I think it was actually very smart. Just having 2 dark spams is very good, but I really liked it. Then I started to think about what went well with my team. I still needed my grass, I needed my electric type, I needed hazard removal, I wanted another form of status. I wanted Will-O-Wisp, I wanted Thunder Wave, I wanted so many things. And then I started to look at the grass types that were available. Things like Chestnut were still available at this point in time, I believe. Things like regular Sceptile, Mega Sceptile. There were a lot of really cool grass types. And then I started to look around and I was like, Rotom Mow is still available. I will take Rotom Mow. It covers my grass type, it covers my electric type, it covers my Will-O-Wisp, it covers my Thunder Wave, it covers my Volt Switch user. It covers my extremely hard-hitting nuking grass type with Leaf Storm. It covers a bulky-ish electric type with slow Volt Switch, can be fast Volt Switch with a Choice Scarf or just regular offensive. It has access to Sucker Punch and Priority, which isn't the best because it's special. It is what it is, but it can be very versatile if planned around correctly. I really do like it, but that's just my opinion on Rotom Mow. It kind of sort of varies. But the one thing I dislike about this pick was the fact that it still does not cover the fact I have 1 Hazard Setter, no hazard removers, and a lot of momentum gaining. So hazards are looking mighty fine against my team, if I do say so myself. So I have to kind of sort of fix that up pretty soon. So I started looking at hazard removers, or hazard setters in general. And there was a couple, sorry, there's something on my screen. There are a couple really cool ones that's still available. There's Gliscor, which, it's a really good hazard setter. But not the best hazard remover because then you can't run Poison Heal. There's Gligar, which I love Gligar. It's one of my favorite defoggers in the format. There was Tentacruel at this point in time still available, but I didn't want another water type. Oh, and by the way, Rotom is adding to my ice weakness, which kind of sort of sucks. I have to really be careful about ice types. Then, the more and more I looked at it, it just made the most sense if I grabbed Gligar. it made the most sense that I grabbed Gligar for a couple different reasons. It's fat. I play teams that have very offensive things that this can check, like Excadrill, Entei, other offensive fire types. This thing can check them pretty well, so I needed to make sure I could have that. This thing just overall, it's very bulky. Another wall for the team, another Baton Pass user, another U-turner, a knockoffer, a defogger, a rooster, a taunter, an Edgequake user, a coverage move. It was just overall very good for what I wanted. However, it is still adding to my ice type weakness. I swear I'm not terrible at this. Realistically though, I'm a little worried about playing Weavile. Honestly, I'm really scared to play Weavile. But I think I can still check it pretty well with Vaporeon, so I wasn't too scared of that. Along with the fact that I have one thing that speed ties with it, so if he wants to speed tie, that's going to force him to run max speed. I have a couple Scarfers that can outspeed it. I have a couple ways of dealing with it. But I love the way Gligar fits this team. It's a nice hazard remover that I needed for a very long time. It's a very nice hazard setter. It's one of the most, in my opinion, one of the most reliable rock setters because it's decently fast. Has access to really cool abilities, actually, in Immunity and Hypercutter. So if I think I'm going to be getting Toxic Stalled and I don't need Roost or I don't need Defog, I can just run Immunity and not be Toxic Stalled, so that's always nice. I'm sorry, I just moved my computer. So I was okay with that. But I started looking more and more, and I was like, ice types, man. Mamoswine, Weavile, and Curums. I played Curum White twice. I just get 6-0'd by Curum. So I needed a way to scare out ice types. Or just take them on halfway decently. And I was like, well, I'm kind of sort of stuck to low tier monsters. By the way, Gligar, I picked it. It's a B tier. I could have picked an A tier, and I think that's where I kind of sort of messed up the most in this draft, is I could have taken an A tier Defogger or a Rapid Spinner. Granted, there weren't that many left that I wanted, so I kind of took Gligar because it was the best thing that fit the role I wanted along in the tier. So I don't regret my decision of picking Gligar. I don't think I could have done any better. I'm just scared of Weavile. But I wanted a way to scare out Weavile. I wanted a way to scare out ice types in general and take on the special ones like Curum White, which I played twice, which still blows my mind. So I took Hitmonchan. It's pretty bulky on the special side. It can scare it out with Priority Mach Punch or Bullet Punch. It can live Dracos somewhat, kind of, and hit really hard with Drain Punch. It's okay, and it's another hazard remover in Rapid Spin. So that's kind of important. So now, hazards aren't looking too scary now that I'm looking at it. So I have a Defogger, I have a Rapid Spinner, I have a very fast Taunt user in Darkrai, and a somewhat fast Taunt user in Hydreigon. So I'm okay with hazards. I'm not too worried about it. I'm not too worried about it at all. Like, Toxic Spikes and Spikes could be a little bit of a problem, but it is what it is. I can have a Heal Bell, and I can take care of Toxics and things of that nature, but I think it's not the biggest deal. But having this fighting type is really good. Having a stab fighting type is always nice. I love having a really hard-hitting fighting type, and with it having Iron Fist, along with access to Drain Punch, Mach Punch, Fire, Thunder, Ice Punch, Bullet Punch, like, it just hits so hard, and that's really nice. It also has access to Bulk Up, which if an opponent prepares for an Assault Vest, and it really just brings Spadef Bulk Up, like, that could kind of sort of sweep a team as well. And that was really nice, and that's really what I was looking at the most with Hitmonchan. So I have 3 picks left. One of them I didn't care about whatsoever because I've gotten basically everything I wanted. I think I've covered the vast majority of my holes in my team that I did have, and I think I can take on the majority of things in the league pretty well, aside from things like Curum White and Shaman Sky and Weavile. But you know, every team is going to have its weaknesses. It's just the way Draft League is. So I started to look around and I was like, people haven't been taking their megas too long. There are still 4 people that had megas and or that did not have megas, and 2 of them had S rank megas. So if you don't know how that works, if you have an S rank mega, you have to take a C or lower. Because of the points I've already spent, I have to take a C rank mega. So I was like, holy crap, the person after me needs to take a C or lower rank Mega, and one other person has to take it. And the Mega that I was looking at, that I wanted from the very start, looked very good on both of their teams. I was like, you know what? I have to take this now or I'm screwed 50 times from Sunday. So I was like, you know what? Just give me Mega Bayonet. I'll be happy. I can have Prankster Thunderwave, Prankster Destiny Bond. It hits so stupid hard with base 165 attack. It's just so strong. I love Mega Bayonet. It hits so damn hard. It has access to 2 forms of priority outside of Prankster in Shadow Sneak and Sucker Punch. It can have access to Knockoff. Fairies aren't a thing because it has Gunk Shot. It has access to really, really awesome moves. Being able to run cheeky things like sub-disable for choice mons is always nice. Having another taunter, like this thing just adds a lot of really cool aspects to the team. And say I did want a spin blocker, like say I'm going up against something like a Talonflame that just destroys my team very hard. And I want to, like, I'm not saying that Talonflame does destroy my team. I'm saying, say I went up against it and it did do this and I want to be able to spin block it so they couldn't get away hazards. I want to have a spin blocker. So I'm really happy I got Mega Bayonet. I love Mega Bayonet so much. It has base 75 speed, so it's not slow. It can outspeed a lot of walls very easily unless they run a lot of speed. There's just a plethora of things that this thing can do. It's also very good at just being a huge annoyance or being a guaranteed kill. Like Prankster Destiny Bond, and you have a choice mon in front of you, it's a guaranteed kill unless they get a burn or toxic or whatnot. So kind of forces people to not run choice mons or forces them to switch more so. And if they don't switch and I go for a sub or a protect and I see what they're going to do, I can act accordingly. So this thing forces a lot of 50-50s. So Mega Bayonet, it forces 50-50s. However, if you can play around, I don't know how I want to word this. It takes a 50-50 and turns it into a 75-25 if you can scout first. So that makes it really nice with Mega Bayonet, and I love it for that. So I'm really excited to be using it. A buddy of mine, Ab, used it in the LBA. He used it amazingly. I'm so excited. Hopefully I make him proud. Then I was looking at the low tier mons. I get to take 2 mons from E tier, or I think 1 from D, 1 from E, so it didn't really matter which order I took them in. One of them was going to be a meme no matter what. It's just what it is. I always take at least 1 meme pick. And I knew I wanted this mon from the very start. Whenever I started this whole thing after I contracted Jirachi, I was like, okay, I want a good fairy type, I want Mega Bayonet, and then I want this mon. And this mon kind of sort of helps with a lot of things. It helps with the speed problem that I'm having so far. I go from 125 to 100 in speed, so that kind of sort of sucks. I needed to kind of sort of fix that. However, I do have Thunder Wave on some really cool things. I'm able to slow things down. And I have a lot of really good choice Scarf users. However, I wanted this mon for just because it has base 115 speed, very good move pool, and it's a sleeper Pokemon, and that, my friends, is Floatzel. Floatzel is so cool. It's so cool. It has access to a lot of physical moves, a lot of special moves. It can't be burnt, so running things like Bulk Up with Rest is very viable because things like Mega Sableye cannot burn you, so you can just set up on their face unless they have foul play, and then it's kind of a little bit less than ideal, but you can still set up and hit things so hard it's not even funny. I love Floatzel. I've been using it in OU because I love it that much. It's so cool, and I'm really happy with it. But it'll be something that's for fun, realistically. If I see that it works really well, it'll be the first thing on the team, but otherwise it's going to be something that just sits most of the time. So now we are down to the last pick. I have 1 pick left. A lot of teams still have 2 picks left. And I was looking. I wanted Grand Bull, that got sniped. Having a second fairy is always good. I wanted Rampardos at the time that got taken. And then it ended up having to be dropped later on because of point things and whatnot. It's just kind of confusing. You guys want to know about all that. But I could not decide what I wanted. I just didn't really care, to be honest with you. It's not that I didn't care. Let me rephrase that. I was happy with one of 3 things. So when you need to make a decision, and you have 1 of 3 choices, what is the first thing you do? Twitter. So what I did was I went to Twitter, I made a poll, and the 3 mons that could be chosen from Rampardos, because Mold Breaker, Stealth Rock for things like Sableye Mega Sableye would be really cool. However, I only played Mega Sableye once, so it wasn't that big of a deal. But being able to just nuke things with Head Smash or Sheer Force special moves is really cool, so I was okay with that. I was also looking at Regigigas, believe it or not, because it's another Thunder Wave user. It has base 100 speed after slow start. It has access to knockoff. It can body slam para things. It's pretty cool. I like it. It would be very niche, and it wouldn't be the most useful, but it'd be pretty cool. And then of course you cannot have a meme pick, or at least consider a meme pick, without having my boy Rufflet. If you guys don't know why Rufflet, just run calcs with Bandit Hustle. It hits so hard. So I went to Twitter and I put up a poll, and as you can see by the picture on your screen, Rufflet was the winner. So Rufflet is going to be the final Mon on this team. It's slow, but it hits like a truck. It can be choice scarfed. It outspeeds, I'm pretty sure, base 60s are outspeeded by base 115s. So choice scarfed, it can outspeed Megalodios, or it can outspeed the Lottie twins. It can outspeed cool things like that, base 100s, which there are a lot of that I play actually. Has U-turn, has access to superpower, rock slide, has access to really cool moves, return, crush claw with. It's just a really cool mon, but it's mainly a meme pick, and I'm just looking forward to being able to just click Brave Bird. Hopefully I don't miss because of Hustle, but it just hits so hard. I love Rufflet. And it's the baby evolution of my mascot, so I kind of had to go for it. Plus, it gives me another defogger. If I wanted to bring, like, Eviolite Bulk Up, that's a legitimate thing, if you did not know. That's actually somewhat viable. And I have another defogger, so that's really cool. But that's basically the Maryland Torterrapins for Season 4 of the PGL. This kind of went on a lot longer than what I intended it to be, but I had a lot of fun making this video. If you guys are excited, please make sure to leave a like down below. Also leave a comment. Let me know what your favorite pick of the draft is, and don't make it Darkrai, because everybody's just gonna love that guy. Like, I realize it. However, try not to make it Darkrai, because I love so many mons on this team. I hope you guys have an absolutely fantastic day, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.